yeah. How's the shoulder, and when do you expect to be back on the cricket
No,
field?
it's coming on very well, thank you. Probably at about 70% at the moment. So our thinking on is if it's not 100% against Zimbabwe, luckily there's enough time still, but really important to be at 100% so I can get more strength into it so that I can keep diving around in the field, not come back and be very hesitant and diving around and almost being aware of injuring it again. And as I said after the Sri Lankan series, don't disrespect to Zimbabwe, but there's a long season ahead, and especially in the World Cup here, trying to make sure that I get as strong as possible so it can last a whole season. But if it's 100%, I'll definitely play.
You mentioned the World Cup here, Faf. They come around once every 4 years. It's a bit of a different thing because it's like even at this stage of the season, everyone's looking ahead to the end of the season.
Yes.
Have you guys spoken about how you guys are going to manage that different pressure? And it's obviously a different season, isn't it, for you?
I think it's quite evident that certainly the last year or two, our focus has never been short term. It's everything that we've said and done, even to you guys in the media, has been a look ahead to the World Cup, and also the teams that we've selected hasn't always probably been the best teams right now to play against opposition, but it's always been a focus of how can we get guys that we are looking at more experience for the future, with the goal of the World Cup ahead. I see experienced guys don't need more experience. They're already very experienced, but young guys can do and take a lot and learn a lot from playing in international cricket. So I think what we've seen over the last year and a bit, that there's been a few guys that show that they're made for the international circuit and that they're ready now, and a few guys still need a bit of time. And that's the purpose over the last year or two, and especially maybe the next 2 or 3 months with Zimbabwe and Australia. It's just to see how we can get that process speeded up, if that's the right saying, and then by maybe Pakistan and Sri Lanka have a bit of a more of a settled 15, and then look of how we can are playing our style and brand of cricket together as a 15. But yeah, I know that certainly from a one-day perspective, the results this season wasn't as good as they should have been. Obviously, the Indian series was a lot of injuries, but it's good. It's good to see what the young guys can do, and it's good for them to see how much they still need to improve, because we're going to need those young guys and their courage and their experience that they got through the World Cup.
How far advanced is South Africa in terms of where you want to be with the 15?
Yeah.
Given that there's these 2 series to come, and then you want it to be settled by Pakistan.
Look, I think, to be really honest, going to Sri Lanka, we were hoping to get a little bit more questions answered. We went there with quite a few gaps in the team that we were still looking at, and we came back with 1 or 2 question marks still that needed to be answered. But there was 1 or 2 that answered, that responded nicely. As an example, someone like Reece Hendricks, to come from someone that wasn't probably even close to the 15, getting 101 game, putting pressure on the guys that are already there. So it's good to see that guys, and that's the whole purpose of giving guys opportunity, to put more pressure on the guys that are there, so that they're not resting on just okay performances. For us to go to the World Cup, we're going to need guys to be on top of their game. So, and I see that as a really good pressure to have on players right now on the team.
Okay, so where are the gaps?
Well, obviously we're looking at all-rounders. As you can see, there's still a few questions or answers that need to be answered there. Luckily, we've got a really good youngster in Björn Mulder, and with youngsters, you have the opportunity by giving them more opportunity, more time. Whereas if you had an older guy, you'd probably be more short-sighted in your what you're trying to get from him. So if you've got age on your side, and you know that someone's got talent, so someone like him will probably get a little bit more opportunity over the next 1 or 2 series. Spinners, we've seen that Shamo did really well, so that's a great sign. We know what Imi is. He's a fantastic spinner, so that shows us that we've got 2 great wicket-taking options there. Rakesh, although he didn't get great opportunity in Sri Lanka, it shows that our spinning department is really looking good. From a fast bowling point of view, very happy. Went there to see who will be our opening combination. Can they strike right through the match? KG and Lungi proved that in conditions that is probably harder to strike. So that's one of the questions that were answered. One of the, where I batted number 3 or number 4 is something we talking about. Whether that's the experience of going in at 4 and being more in the middle periods of the game is better for the team. Obviously myself at number 3, I personally have been quite successful in that position. So once again, giving that an opportunity, running with it for a while, and then when we get late into the season, deciding what we want to do. Obviously guys like Hendrik Klaassen, Aiden Markram, all getting opportunities, but still need time to making sure that they can nail that down. Another guy that I was really happy with was obviously JP Duminy, an important player for us, and you could see that almost he was a much more freer player, and that's a great credit to the work we're doing behind the scenes for the team. So that's good that if he's playing well, that's really important for us as a team because he's our most experienced player. So that's a lot of information, but it's a question that needs a lot of answers.
Do you see Dale Steyn as still a possibility for the World Cup?
Yes, I do. I think probably need one more fast bowler with those 2. So that, once again, going back to his question, is you probably need 3 fast bowlers in your squad. So there's over the next 2 series, see who takes that, who grabs that opportunity, and to see who will be our. I think you need 3 seamers going there and maybe 2 all-rounders. So over the next while, hopefully those answers will then be answered as well.
Faf, just shifting focus a bit, have you as players and you as the captain of the Proteas been following this whole T20 saga, and is it worrisome that there's not yet any closure about whether it's going to go forth or not?
Yeah, I'm normally as a personality, I'm very involved with whatever I'm not supposed to be involved with, because I want to be I want to know what's going on. Apart from the last 3 weeks, I've purposely just taken a bit of a step back to try and just, as I said, because I'm always so involved. So when I'm playing captain and trying to be involved with everything else, I just want it to be this 3 weeks to be about family and getting a little bit away from the game and rehab, and so probably a little bit more from a selfish point of view, trying to get some time at home. But yeah, well, that's unfortunately an answer I can't answer right now, but I'm hoping that there would be an answer. That's obviously really important. As you guys know, I'm a big believer in transparency and being open and honest about what's going on. So I'm hoping that, as the bank said, there's going to be a meeting happening this weekend, and then we'll get some answers which we're all looking for after that.
Is there a plan for the players, because there will be a gap in the schedule if the tournament does not take place? What you guys do have plans, what you're going to do, the franchise guys probably more than the Proteas guys?
Yeah, I haven't even gone there, to be honest with you. I think it's really important for Cricket South Africa to have that tournament, so it's important that we try and everyone's still trying to get that thing up and running. There's so many various reasons why it's important, and I mean we can go through them, but it's for the youth of our country. It's really important to have an opportunity to, you look at the IPL, they're youngsters, they can put out 5 or 6 teams. You look at the A side now, there are 3 teams playing. They just keep printing our players because they've got a great domestic circuit where the young players are getting exposed with the best players around the world. So it's really important for us as a cricketing nation to grow with a tournament like that. Guys trying to get into the IPL, I've been involved with the IPL now for 8 years, and I can see the window closing on South African players where they're looking more at Australian players, more at England players, more at the rest of the world, which means that we need a tournament where they can look at our tournament like the Big Bash, where guys can perform on a global level to get recognition there. And so there's so many good reasons for us to make sure that this thing happens. And I'm really hoping and believing that it will still take place.
Just to go back to the World Cup selection thing, do you feel that previous South African teams going to World Cups, maybe that's where one of the things that went wrong was that in the build-up to the tournament there was always that we always played our best sides, as you said. There wasn't much experimentation. You could always just get the best side playing every game.
That's probably an answer we'll only have after the World Cup. But I'm on the same wavelength as you. I mean, I've been involved in 2 World Cups now where we've tried different approaches from leading up to the tournament and from a mental approach. So I certainly have seen the good and the benefits, and I've tried to take the bad as well from both of them. So for me now, it's, as I said, you can see in the current group of players there is some young, courageous cricketers out there, and I believe that's the way that we will win the World Cup, is to really go there with all the baggage, without all the baggage, and just say, like, these are the most talented, most courageous cricketers, and try and play a style of cricket that doesn't limit us from being so mentally challenged by going to a World Cup every time. Because let's be honest, that's probably the only hurdle that we haven't overcome, is the mental aspect of it. We've always been skillfully right up there, but just lacking in crucial periods of a game. So that's why my message to the team and the coach's message to the team is to try and free players up mentally, try and get them to a space where they're not fearing failing, fearing getting out, fear of whatever it is, to almost equip them to, when they get to that time, that they are much more freer in a tournament like that, because I do believe that plays, we call it 10% or 20%, and I think that's where we perhaps haven't been as good as we can in the past World Cups.
Playing conditions in England, what do you think might suit you the best, or what could be a potential problem from a playing point of view, conditions-wise?
If you look at Pakistan, who won it now on the RCC, that your bowling unit is going to play a massive role. We went there to the ICC, it's probably the best batting lineup that in the world. I think we had 4 of the top 10 batters at that stage. So we were feeling very confident in the batting unit that we had. But the ability to get wickets in those conditions seemed to be the 10%er. So that's why we're looking at guys who can get wickets all the time, and certainly from my perspective, from the coach's perspective, who is guys that can get you wickets at any stage of the game, not guys that can just bowl in a certain area of the game, being very the opportunity to bowl at any stage of the game. So that's one aspect. And then from a batting point of view, it's try and have a longest batting lineup as you can. I know that's depending on the personnel that you have, and that's probably why England will call themselves the favourites, because they have a very, very long batting lineup. I think they've had till 10 or maybe even 11 sometimes. So it's a little bit different with our team. We don't have that resources to have guys that are all-rounders, all number 10 and 11. But it's just trying to have as long as batting lineup as you can with that. We can take it.
Does that make it, just to follow up on that, does that make it essential that you really have 2 all-rounders in your starting 11? And I'm not counting JP as an all-rounder.
Yes.
He obviously is one, but
Yes.
7 and 8 have both got to be better.
That's the ideal. That's the ideal world. That's why I'm saying that's the one thing we're hoping to get through out of the next 6 months. If you have 7 and 8, and in there you still have 2 wicket-taking options, that's the ideal. And hopefully that unfolds. That's why someone like Vian does fit that mold. He bowls 140, he bats at 7 or 8, but still the performances needs to be there. He needs to put in performances where he gets the runs and he gets the wickets. So we're looking for players like that. But if you don't have enough armoury in your bowling attack, then you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere else. So that's the trickiness of selection.
Just the final one from me. This is just shine a bit of a spotlight on domestic cricket from the national captain's perspective. How do you assess the players that you get from the domestic circuit, and is South African cricket doing well in that regard?
Yeah, no, it's great for me. I've really enjoyed that. As I said before, it's really for me, it's about showing the domestic guys what the Proteas are all about, what our standards are all about, and what expectations of performances we do have. And if they're not involved with us, they know when they're going back that that's the standards that is required of them to get back there. And if they don't, then it's obviously someone else will take that opportunity. But it's been nice to see different faces in the squad. just even from a leadership point of view, making sure that you speak to younger guys about captaincy and where they see themselves as captains, having conversations with guys about that. I think that's a real important transition that's going to have to take place in a year or 6 months or 2 years' time, that whoever takes over from a captaincy point of view, there's been a lot of learning happening in that space. We certainly felt that, post Graham, he was a fantastic leader, but it was like after him, it was like, what now? It was a big gap. So just that transition of leadership, Adam Markram, all those guys, speaking to them. We've got some nice, good leaders in the team, just making sure that we, help and assist where we can.
And the quality of cricketer that's coming through, that is a potential national player, or is South Africa producing international quality cricketers out of the domestic comps?
I think so. I mean, Reece Hendrick's a great example, coming in tough conditions in Sri Lanka where, some experienced guys struggled to score runs. He came in, he was ruthless in the way that he batted. He took the spinners on, and that's the kind of play I'm talking about. Heinrich Klaasen perhaps didn't have the amount of runs that he would have liked in that series, but we've seen signs of him doing that against India. So there's continuously guys coming in and showing that what we're talking about, what is required to, I think, what's going to win us a World Cup, they're just coming in and doing it. So that shows that our domestic game still is in a good place. Yes, it can always improve, and yes, you always want to be better, but the small things that I've seen has been really good.
He's a bit of a forgotten man through injury, but Chris Morris, could he be a vital component if he is fully fit and he's playing the way he can?
Yes, definitely. I mean, Maury is one of those guys. He's a wicket taker. He's an X-factor player. I think it's important now for Maury just to get himself body strong again. He's probably in a similar scenario that a lot of injured players has been, where he plays a couple of series, then he gets injured, then plays a couple of series. So we need him. We need his batting and bowling capabilities. But for him, it's about getting himself strong and fit, and then hopefully playing a few series and putting his name back into the mix. But if a fit and a hungry Chris Morris is a huge attribute to us as a team. But it's important for him also to use the next 2 or 3 months to put in those good performances, to be hungry again to perform for us.